Please join me now in saying our All Souls covenant together. Love is the spirit of our people, and service is our call. To build the beloved community, to seek fuller truth in love, to dwell together in peace, to offer aid and affirmation, and to tend to our mutual well-being. This is our covenant.
Please join us in singing I Wish I Knew How.
Hello and welcome to All Souls. I'm Chuck Wooldridge and my pronouns are he and him. Welcome to a community where our search for spirituality and our passion for social action are joined, where reverence for the earth and belief in the dignity of every person informs our ethics, where music is an expression of our joy and acts of justice a symbol of our hope. Welcome to this place where all people of all races, national origins, creeds, gender identities and expressions, sexual orientations, ages and disabilities, where all people are welcome at this table of love and fellowship. Regardless of whether you're a lifelong member or friend, or today is your first time with us, you are welcome here. I draw your attention to the connection card. If you're in the sanctuary and have a printed order of service, it's enclosed there. On Zoom, a link is posted in the chat window. If you are new, we invite our visitors to please enter your contact information to ask questions and tell us about your interests, and we'll come back to this during the offertory. I joined All Souls in 2002. I was 40 years old then. Today I'm 63, retired from a 38-year federal career. I've remained committed to All Souls these 24 years because I deeply believe in the mission of this congregation. Together we take a stand for love and justice and act to make the world a place where all beings are loved, free, and at peace. For me, a great blessing is having a spiritual home like All Souls, whose music, liturgy, and rituals punctuate the endless flow and endless change that is our lives. We are a community of memory where we mark solemn occasions, we remember the struggles, and we search for truth, meaning, and purpose. Today, we once again solemnly commemorate the destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by atomic bombs dropped by the United States 81 years ago on August 6th and August 9th. All Souls, under the prophetic ministry of Reverend A. Powell Davies, took a stand against the inhumanity of such an abhorrent act. Today, August 2nd, 2026, we still bear witness and remember the enormity of the pain and suffering inflicted on the human family by our bombs. Painful truths, borrowing from the theme of the service, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now is our time to greet one another, and if you're on Zoom, I invite you to go to the gallery view, turn your video on, and give everyone a wave. In the sanctuary, feel free to get up and move around as you're comfortable. When you hear the bells toll, you're welcome to return to the pews. Welcome today.
Good morning, All Souls. I'm Reverend Anastasia Zinke. I serve as All Souls Developmental Minister, and I'm going to invite my young friends to come forward and join me here on the carpet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, All Souls, hit the floor. We're happy that you're here today. Hooray, hooray, hooray. I'm going to now get used to that. Yeah. All right, beloveds. Now, is there someone here who hasn't gotten a turn to open the Wonder Box yet? All right, I think, Axel, would you do this and pull out what's inside? What is it? A stuffed bunny. Oh, yes, hello. Oh. Yes, Benjamin? So this bunny, so sweet, reminds me of a story that parents have been reading to their children for generations called The Velveteen Rabbit. Anyone know that story? Okay. So it's a little bit of a longer story, so I'm not going to tell all the different parts of it, but maybe tonight at home you can ask for it if you're curious to hear it again. But one Christmas, there in a stocking was a little stuffed rabbit. And the next morning, when the boy woke up and saw that rabbit with a little sprig in its arms, he immediately fell in love with it and played with it nonstop for 2 hours until he opened another box with a different toy, and the rabbit was forgotten for a while. But all the toys that the boy had got were put in the nursery to play with. Now, the rabbit was sort of a shy rabbit and kept to himself. And all the other toys, who felt a little bit more proud, would say things like, "It seems like the boy likes mechanical toys that go clunk, 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 clunk." Or, "Did you see how the boy lifted my sails on my mast?" And the bunny thought, "I don't have sails or mast, or I don't go clunk, 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 clunk. I'm just a bunny." But one day, when he was feeling sad, he was next to Horse. And Horse said, "Don't worry about all that." And he says, but it seems like the boat has all these things that are real about it. He talks about how real he is. And the Horse says, no. The boat is wrong. That's not how you become real. You become real when a child plays with you long enough that the child loves you. And you'll notice that you're on the way of becoming real because you'll get sort of faded and a little shabby, and maybe a part that you had would kind of fall off. Then you're very close to being real. And the rabbit said, "Are you real?" And the Horse said, "Yes, the boy's uncle made me real long ago." And the rabbit thought about this. And one day, when the usual stuffy the boy slept with was missing, the nurse gave the boy the rabbit stuffy in his bed, and the boy cuddled him close. And from that night on, every night, the boy and the rabbit were together, and the boy would make these tunnels in the blankets and said, "These are your burrows, bunny," and he'd go on through, and the rabbit would dream right under the boy's chin. And over time, he recognized the pink of the ears was turning gray, and the nose that had been there had fallen off, and this fur that had been like very shiny had gotten a little matted. And the boy would whisper, "I love you, bunny." And the rabbit thought, "Oh, I think I'm becoming real." Now, one time the boy got sick, and the rabbit held him close, even though the boy was so hot. And when the boy was better, a doctor said something and said all the things that the boy had in the bed had to be removed and burned. And the bunny went out, and because the bunny was loved, the bunny shed a real tear and said, "What was all this for if it comes to this?" And in that moment, a toy fairy showed up and said, "I am here because the boy loved you so much and made you real, and now I'm going to take you and make you real again." And she blessed him and turned him into a hopping bunny who lived in the woods with all his bunny friends. Now, let's see if you could remember back in the story. What is the first time this bunny became real? Specifically, anyone remember the first time this bunny became real? Axel? When he was in the bed with the boy and the boy said, "I love you," right? Sometimes we become more real when people love us, when they see us, and they see us not because we're perfect, but they see us and know how they feel about us. That's a moment love helps make us real. And the second moment that the bunny became real, anyone remember? Sadie? When the toy fairy came. And do you know what? I want to point to this one moment in the story, because that's right. When the bunny shed the tear and cried and said, "This is all it came to?" And that's a moment when I realized the bunny loved itself. The bunny was like, "I want more for myself." And so also self-love is when we become real. So I want us to think about these moments, not of perfecting ourselves or hiding our worries, but really recognizing that sometimes when we're most vulnerable or most imperfect, that's also when we're most real and there's the most love. So I invite us to think about that as we go to our RA classes or back to the pews with our family, and let us sing Sia Hamba as we think about how love makes us real.
Marching, we are marching in the light of God.
Good morning, All Souls. My name is Judith Bauer. I have been a member of All Souls since 1994. I was 10 years old when atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I grew up in a community that did not rejoice in the destruction of so many lives. In 2010, Chuck and I and 4 others had the opportunity to travel to Japan to present a set of reproductions of the drawings to the Hankawa Elementary School, whose pupils had sent the drawings in 1948 as a gesture of friendship to the children of All Souls. While there, we had the good fortune to begin a relationship with the Buddhist organization Risho Kosai Kai, their Dharma Center in Hiroshima. In 2014, Chuck and I, with others, had the privilege of leading a group of around 25 All Souls members to Hiroshima for the annual commemoration ceremony. Instead of the overwhelming heat we had experienced during our first visit, we arrived in the aftermath of a typhoon. We were honored guests at the official commemoration ceremony, but the ground was so wet that if you weighed more than around 140 pounds, your chair would sink into the mud. By the time we were ready to go back to the Dharma Center for dinner, uh, uh, we were a sorry bunch of wet, muddy, bedraggled pilgrims, wondering how we could be presentable guests. When we did arrive at the Dharma Center, our host greeted us with basins of warm, soapy water. They proceeded to wash our feet, give us dry sandals, and clean our muddy shoes. I am so grateful for the loving kindness I have experienced over these many, many years because of my involvement with the Hiroshima Children's Drawings Project and the Heiwa Peace Ministry. After the service today, the Heiwa Peace Project will lead a guided tour of the Hiroshima Children's Drawings on the church's lower level and share the remarkable story behind the All Souls' decades-long relationship with Hiroshima. There will be a Heiwa table at the coffee hour this morning where you can gather for the tour or find more information on the Heiwa Peace Project. Our partners with the Hiroshima-Nagasaki Peace Committee will hold their annual vigil and program on Wednesday, the 5th of August, 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Zoom. Following a moment of silence, marking the exact time of Hiroshima's destruction in 1945, join an online conversation on lessons learned from the nuclear disarmament struggle. The Zoom information is in the weekly e-news and available at the Heiwa table during coffee hour. Then on August 6th, a Thursday, 6 p.m., there will be an Interfaith Nuclear Prayer Day vigil on Capitol Hill. Join faith leaders and advocates for prayers for justice and a nuclear-free world. Reflections from the nuclear disarmament and broader justice communities, some music, and opportunities to support legislative and educational efforts to halt and reverse the nuclear arms race. All Souls and Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice, UUSJ, are co-sponsors of this event. The vigil will take place at the United Methodist Building, that's 100 Maryland Avenue Northeast, Washington, D.C. A registration link and more information are in the weekly e-news and are also available at the Heiwa table during coffee hour. Thank you all.
I have one additional announcement, which is the board and I have scheduled additional processing circles related to our history of harm, conflict, and failed accountability, since many of the sessions that we have upcoming were filled and people are asking for a wait list. So we've added sessions on August 16th and August 30th, and we will plan to probably offer more into September as well. So please express your interest on the connection card or look for the Sign Up Genius link through your e-news. Each Sunday, a member of our pastoral care team is available after the service near the Chalice area. And today's pastoral associate is Mary Beth Hayden. If you would value a listening ear or accompaniment, I invite you now to lift up out loud in the chat or in the sacred silence of your heart, the people, places, or causes that you carried with you here today. Spirit of life, ancestor of the stars and the sun, you who embrace the vastness of space and us along with it, be with us today. Hold us in our worry, our exhaustion, our grief. Keep us close as we sit with our truth, whatever that may be. Lead us to rest in the quiet, to find solace and renewal in this time of shifting light and dark. You whose arms open with the spinning galaxies, help us to make room, as you do, for all that is. Open our hearts to our loved ones, our neighbors, the beings with whom we share this beautiful planet. Lead us to reach out to others with compassion. Turn us toward one another in mercy, right relationship, and reconciliation. You who have seen the rising and setting of suns, help us understand our interdependence, our gravitational relatedness with all the other spinning lives around us, and lead us to treat those relationships with care. In this space, filled with the people among us who shine like stars, this space filled with the sparkle of love and care, we give thanks for this moment to be together. May our senses be open to the beauty of this day, this season, this world. I invite us to continue our prayer through music. Please join us in singing Fuente de Amor in Spirit of Life.
when we tell our stories from sacred space, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place.
This morning, we continue our story and song series with Fred Katz. This series has been so wonderful as we've gotten to know members of our congregation better, and also the music that has supported them through moments of transition, uncertainty, and loss in their lives that has sustained them. Next Sunday will be our last Sunday in these series, so if you've not made it to one before now, I hope you'll come back for this last one, and if you've been loving them, I hope you feel like next week's is not to be missed. This week, Fred Katz is going to share his story. I've gotten to know Fred over these past 2 years. In particular, I've gotten to know him as a worship associate. Also, in particular, planning our high holiday service and leading up into the service that has resulted today. In all those times, the thing that I've appreciated about Fred is how open he's been to conversation, to sharing his thoughts with me. And I would say a particular thing that helps me feel deeply connected to Fred is remembering the times when, in leading service together, we almost lit this church up, literally, when we were burning Viduti over here. We didn't. But I would say that moment was a sacred moment because we spoke aloud the confessions that were in the hearts of our people. And holding what we most needed to be forgiven for is a sacred, connective act. It is my joy and my delight to invite Fred Katz to the pulpit.
Thank you. That was really lovely. Good morning. I am underslept, but overjoyed to be with you this morning. I'm going to start by reading an excerpt from On Joy and Sorrow by the poet Khalil Gibran. Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else could it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain." I have been a drummer my whole life, although I've done lots of other things and have had other careers. But since I retired from the last of those careers 3 years ago, I'm ex-NOAA, I have rededicated my life to full-time performing and teaching music, and in particular, drumming. One of the great joys of my life now is leading improv-based drum circle classes, which I call drumming out loud, because I know we all have rhythm inside us. Indeed, there is a recent theory by the anthropologist Dean Falk which hypothesizes that in our early hominin evolution, when we were becoming the first truly bipedal species, we were entrained in the womb to respond to a steady beat by the walking gait of our mothers. And this explains why we are predisposed to appreciate rhythm and music to an extent unlike any other mammal. My communal drumming workshops, like the one I've led at Weekend on the Bay, or for the auction winners at the recent All Souls auction, are fun, low-stakes, beginner-oriented jam sessions where I share ideas and facilitate improv games about how to listen to the rhythms we all have inside us, to express them through drumming, and to paraphrase Sharon Niss, to connect to each other in pulses of mutuality. But these communal drumming workshops are also something more. They're a laboratory for exploring how mindfulness can be used creatively in both musical and non-musical situations, particularly when confronted with obstacles or difficult challenges, to provide tools for becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. Drawing on the psychologist Ellen Langer, I define mindfulness as a form of meditation practice where you simply notice new things, whether inside your body or in the external world, with unconditional acceptance. It's both embodied because it involves your sensory apparatus and often your perceptions about your body, and a state of awareness because it involves noticing what you are perceiving and asks you to accept the reality that you find yourself in. Creativity comes in asking two questions. First, having noticed an event or even a feeling, what is the valence that it has for you? What in Buddhism is called hedonic tone. Is it positive or negative? Do you find it pleasant or unpleasant? Is it joy or sorrow? Here I want to underscore that asking this question is not, or answering it is not a judgment, it's truth. It's your truth, how you feel about things. And I want to, in all my workshops and when I engage in this, I want to hold that up. And the second question is, having asked that question, what can you do with it? How can you use the identification, the acceptance, the valence to make creative choices to increase your happiness or to more fully access joy? Make the positive more likely or even more joyful next time. And with negative or uncomfortable hedonic responses, what could you do to make it less negative in the future? Or even turn it into a positive? What if you walked through that door intentionally next time and explored where it would take you? Could you turn your sorrow into joy? I sum up this process as name it, don't blame it, try to reframe it. This is so useful in a performance context because it gives us permission to let go of what we thought was going to happen, the plan, and accept what is actually happening, reality, as a gift. Because plans never work out exactly the way you thought they would. There's a saying among musicians, you never play the same thing once. But rather than describe it more fully in words, I'd prefer if you had an experiential presentation. And for that, you'll have to wait till after the offertory when there will be a drum circle that we have, that we've convened, and we'll practice these techniques in front of you. And believe me, it'll be very uncomfortable for us because we practiced about an hour ago. About a year and a half ago, after some routine blood work turned up something strange, and after a CT scan and bone marrow biopsy confirmed that things were not normal, I was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer, a type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma called Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia. It's a mouthful. I always forget which syllables to stress when I say the full name. Luckily, like a lot of blood cancers, there's an acronym, WM. WM has three characteristics that have radically reshaped my outlook on life. It's not curable, but it's not aggressive, and it is treatable. And for my specific situation, it was found before I had developed any troubling symptoms that would occasion treatment. This is good because treatment for this cancer, like a lot of cancers, can be tough on the body. Chemotherapy and radiation kill normal cells along with the cancerous ones. Physically, I feel the same as before the diagnosis. Besides a little light tingling in my feet and hands, I feel fine. I'm telling you this in part because very early in this period, Reverend Anastasia asked me if my diagnosis could be shared with the congregational care portion of our service, in order to convey that I was having trouble navigating through difficult times. And for that, I am really, truly grateful. Tracy Hughes delivered a wonderful and caring delivery of that message. And so, because many of you have been asking about my health since then, this is an update. I feel good. Thank you. Thank you so much. It really feels good to say that here in front of you. Things really are stable, which means no treatment at this point. And I hope that things stay that way for some time to come. Because what I have is a slow-growing cancer. Some small proportion of people who have it never need treatment, and I may be in that cohort. As my oncologist likes to say, in what seems to me a rather feeble attempt to make me feel better, I may die of something else first. This is cancer humor. But as good as I feel physically, I am different now in a number of ways. I know that I have cancer in my body, and I have a greater awareness now of my own mortality and the likelihood of experiencing pain and discomfort, possibly intense, than I would have otherwise liked to consider, even for this 67-year-old man. In the first few months after the diagnosis, I would have waves of fear and dread and grief for a future that seemed to have been taken away from me. Waves that would often arrive in the middle of the night and last for days. I also struggled with talking about it because it was so heavy, and I felt it would depress anybody to hear about it. As a result, for quite a while, I carried around the secret knowledge and let it weigh on me instead. I was the one becoming depressed. But that started to change when that announcement was made here at this church, and many people, some I knew and some not, began asking me about my health in very caring and loving ways, initiating difficult conversations that I didn't even know how to start. Some of them shared their own journeys with lymphoma and other cancers, which helped me feel less alone. And then I signed up for a 30-mile bike ride in Montgomery County to raise money for the Lymphoma Research Foundation, and found I had a reason to talk about my own condition, if only to ask people to contribute funds for that ride, and that of my teammate, Hodge Hodgson, with whom we eventually raised over $2,500. I even wrote a post on Facebook talking about my cancer in the service of asking for contributions, which was initially very scary because it was out in the world for anybody to read. But I found that it helped cement the idea that talking about my inner pain, my truth, was freeing and helped lighten my load. I was becoming comfortable, becoming uncomfortable in public. As the weight began to lift, I began to become aware of the wonderful community of everybody involved in cancer care, not just the ministers and the congregation here at All Souls, but friends and family, my medical team at Kaiser, the lymphoma support group I started attending at Inova. We were all at the same team. We were all on the same team. Though through my oncologist, who was a former NIH fellow, I got into a natural history study at NIH where other sets of expert eyes could follow me at no cost for me. What I learned was that because my cancer is rare, my participation in their study made me as valuable to them as they were to me. I began to realize that everything I had been teaching to others about creative reframing through naming and not blaming was really self-talk, that I was benefiting in ways I never would have imagined before the cancer, discovering so much joy, love, and affirmation in these new communities and conversations centered around cancer. In a wonderful example of how these communities sometimes overlap, the research nurse specialist who organized the NIH study I am in is also a member here at All Souls, Ingrid Fry. Are you here, Ingrid? If she's not, there she is. Thank you so much. One of the greatest gifts this has given me is that by taking this mindfulness-based drum circle approach in my cancer journey, once I started leaning into talking about cancer, into what had previously been too heavy a topic to raise, nothing else in my life came close. Everything else is so much easier to talk about. I'm more free now in speaking up than in holding things in. I share myself with others more freely. I believe I am more my authentic self in the world than I have ever been. And in a wonderful example of a virtuous cycle, my drumming has become much more expressive and joyful and fun as well. So really, the musical, the communal, the spiritual, and the medical journeys have started to converge in showing me how to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Thank you for allowing me to share these journeys with you this morning. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Fred, don't think that I'm forgetting about you. It's going to come back to you. Theodore Roosevelt, in a speech, Citizenship in a Republic, delivered in Paris in 1910, offered these words, which are ripe for our political times, but also fit our message this morning. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. The sociologist Brené Brown built a body of work on that image, on that phrase, daring greatly, because she discovered in her research on shame something that sounds almost backwards. Vulnerability is not the opposite of courage. It is the birthplace of it. Every wholehearted, and she has a specific definition for what wholehearted is, every wholehearted person she studied had one thing in common, not the absence of fear, but a willingness to step into the arena. For Brené Brown, being in the arena means choosing courage over comfort, taking emotional risks despite the possibility of judgment, failure, or discomfort. It means choosing to act despite our real fears. We have fear. We fear being a burden to others. We fear death. We feel rejection. We feel seeing a moment and not being enough for it. These fears can feel so real. But the question is, what else might be real? And that leads to Brené Brown's kind of other main point, which is embracing vulnerability. Let yourself be seen authentically, even when the outcome is uncertain. Brown discovered that those who step into the arena, who risk authenticity, even when trust and belonging feel uncertain, those are the wholehearted people who experience more often in their lives connection, love, joy, creativity, freedom, resiliency, and belonging. You showed us this morning, Fred, that you are willing to step into the arena of your own life. You were vulnerable about your creativity and your joy, which is your drumming. You share insights from your spiritual practice, which are an intimate space. And the gifts of it, that mindfulness is simply noticing what is true and naming it honestly. And you were vulnerable about your fears when you spoke more quietly about the secret you carried for months and a diagnosis so heavy you thought sharing about it first would only weigh everyone down around you. But that's not how vulnerability actually works. It's not how it worked here this morning. It doesn't drain a room, it opens a door. The moment that Tracy spoke your name in this sanctuary a year and a half ago, and the moment you let people truly ask how you were doing, and the moment you got on a bike and asked strangers for money for a cause with your face attached to it, that was climbing into the arena, dut, sweat, miles and all. And I'll share, in those moments, you became real. Because we can know you and love you more fully. And today you gave us another gift, which is you reminded us of a sacred covenantal promise that when we show up with authenticity and trust in one another, what do we find? Not less connection, but more of it. Not isolation, but beloved community. That is the whole of Brené Brown's insight, that the armor we think will protect us, that we think protects others from things that seem large and scary and uncertain, is often what actually keeps us alone. But when we go in the arena, as terrifying as it is, that is where we are truly found. So, Fred, beloved, thank you for daring greatly among us, and amen.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Now is an opportunity for all of us to enter into a moment of reflection and connection with the pink connection card that those of you here worshiping in person will have gotten as you came in, and those of you on Zoom, that is going to be linked in the chat. So let's take a moment while the music is playing to reflect and fill out these cards. In the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, there is a cenotaph where the ashes of the deceased rest. Written on that stone structure are the words, "Let all the souls here rest in peace, for we shall not repeat this evil." The purpose of the Heiwa Peace Project flows from that solemn promise, but we must remain intentional and we must be awake lest we forget. There's a cautionary tale I want to share with you. A small group of us have been working in the church archives this summer with a series of research questions, trying to more fully understand the Hiroshima children's drawing story and to fill in some of the gaps in our knowledge. One thing that has really struck us is that between the mid-1950s and the mid-1990s, we find almost nothing in the archives about this ministry and this story. It appears that this story went dormant, if not lost altogether, for generations of All Souls members. Today, I'm grateful that more than 50 All Souls members have made the pilgrimage to Hiroshima since 2010 to bear witness. I financially support All Souls because it's a church that when it says All Souls, it can imagine a love and justice large enough to extend across the Pacific and the Atlantic and to all lands. It's a church that, because of the drawings made by children in Hiroshima, that can imagine a world free of nuclear weapons and is willing to ask today, what can we do to advance that goal? Our August Share the Plate recipient is our All Souls Financial Assistance Fund. This fund provides critical funds for those who are unable to pay for some of the most basic needs: food, medicine, rent, transportation, diapers, utilities, and other critical items. We celebrate mutual aid as a part of our justice work and the covenant to be a caring community. Your financial generosity to this fund and to All Souls helps make those values tangible and operative in this world. We invite you to give as generously as you can today. If you're in the sanctuary, the ushers will be passing the plate for our offering, or you can text your donation with the instructions on the screen. On Zoom, you can click on the chat. Thank you in advance for your generosity. Let an offering now be taken to support and sustain this beloved community.
A few words before we start. Thank you, Chris. So this is the experiential portion of my reflection. This is a drum circle. We are going to aim to be creative in the moment, which is good because we don't have much rehearsing time behind us. Because this is mindfulness practice, I want to begin us and invite you to breathe with us. And this is a breathing technique I often use in performance because it's quick and it primes our body for nice, slow, meditative breathing. It's called box breathing because it works in 4 sides of a box. I'm going to guide you through this, and then we can begin with that sense that our bodies and minds are here together. So it goes like this. First of all, we starts with a nice neutral posture with your neck and your trunk aligned. Settle into your bodies and start by taking a nice long breath, but for 4 counts only. 1, 2, 3. Now hold it for 4 counts. 2, 3. And release the breath for 4 counts. 2, 3. And hold it for 4 counts. I'm going to do that again, breathing in for 4 counts. Holding it for 4 counts. Releasing for 4 counts. And holding it for 4 counts. And I find that all that holding primes our body to want to take even more air and release more air. And naturally, your breath will start to become longer and deeper. And also, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling really good right now. Great. Okay. And with that, let me hand the mic back to Chris. Okay, so let's start with a sound check. Let's just hear a few notes on each of our drums and attune our ears and our bodies to the drums and the space.
In our reckless yearning to be safe, we turn away again and again from the blessed security of having nowhere else to hide. May we find the courage to lay ourselves bare and let our lights, the lights of our spirit, shine. If you will join in me with that, I invite you to rise in spirit and sing "This Little Light of Mine" as an affirmation of this blessing.